I'm officially in my late 20s. I'm not in my 30s yet, but I'm getting scarily close. These are the most important things that I've learned so far through my 20s that could have made my life a whole lot better and a whole lot easier if you just injected them into my brain a decade ago or something. At the end of the day, the only person who you can 100% without a shadow of a doubt count on to help you build the life you want for yourself or get you out of a rut or anything like that is yourself. If you're somebody who's sitting and waiting for the right job or the right person or the right idea to just fall into your lap because, it's about time, you're owed as much, then hey, probably time to pump the brakes on that idea. Nobody is coming to rescue you from your circumstances. You aren't owed anything at all. No one is just gonna walk through the door and give you the life that you want for yourself. The reality that I've learned is that you are gonna have to be that person walking through the door. The only person who can actually rescue you from your circumstances is yourself. If you're anything like me, a younger adult who doesn't have any major responsibilities like other people to look after or any major hindrances like a sickness or a disability, then in order to rescue yourself, you'll have to come to terms with the fact that the outcomes in your life are your responsibility and nobody else's. We can be pretty quick to make excuses for ourselves in these moments though. Even if it feels like you have hardly any wiggle room, we have a lot more control over our own lives than it can sometimes seem like. But that's a hard thing to admit because once we do, we point the finger at ourselves. It might be a tough reality to face, but the sooner we start recognizing that we owe it to ourselves to improve our lives and we're the only ones who really have a say over it, the easier it is to stop making excuses and actually start seeing a change or two. How many things do you choose to care about that don't actually matter? And when I say don't matter, I'm talking about things that aren't consistently making you happy or giving you something that you value. This might upset some people, but one of my favorite examples of this is sports. Don't get me wrong, sports are great. I'm actually an obsessive NBA fan, but how many of you know a person or are a person who cares so much about their team that the mood of their entire day depends on if their team wins or loses? I've definitely had just one moment or two like that. I would care so much about how my team did that I honestly just ended up wasting a bunch of energy on something that didn't actually affect me at all. When they lost, it genuinely made me angry, but what for? I know the joy of winning is cool and all, but getting your teeth kicked in all the time gets really old. At least it does when you're unfortunate enough as I am to be blessed with sports situations like this to root for and look back on. Obviously, this extends further than more trivial stuff in our lives like sports though. I think when I was a bit younger, I cared a lot more about other random people and the drama in their lives and what they said about me and what they thought about me too. I would let the thoughts of others dictate my mood in some pretty drastic ways. I know it can be hard to hear the "don't let what other people think about you affect you" cliche, but at least for me, it genuinely got easier as I got older. As I continue to get older and wiser, I've realized that what I care about is what I end up pouring my energy into, and I'm only really interested in pouring my energy into stuff that improves my life and makes me happy or makes me better, like my family and friends, my favorite hobbies, exercise, and stuff like that. If I was mature enough at 20 to realize this, I probably would have started this YouTube channel sooner, for example. I wouldn't have worried as much about what people had to say or what they thought about me. It gets a lot easier to tune out things that don't matter when you understand that you could be dedicating that attention to stuff that actually makes your life noticeably better. Whether it's something small like sports or something a little more real like the thoughts and opinions of others, eventually tuning out the things that don't actually seem to matter will help you in the long run. The older that you get, the more you realize that it's just a waste of really valuable time and energy to stay upset at somebody over something longer than you need to in order to prove a point or because it's tough to swallow your pride and hash things out. Eventually, you start to realize that all this petty stuff is way more draining than actually making a move to change things. I have this bad habit where whenever I feel wronged by someone, I tend not to do anything with it, I just fixate on it. I almost always let that feeling of anger and disappointment fester in my head for too long, to a point in which it just starts to make things even worse. Life is really just too short for grudges. For your own sake, you're gonna have to move on somehow. If you're holding a grudge over a person, then obviously you still care about them in some way, and if you care about someone, that's a pretty special thing to find in life, and you should do what you can to prevent it from wasting away. It's time to squash the beef, man. Even with all of that being said, there is a second way to go about this. If you've been holding a grudge against someone for a long time that you really can't shake no matter how much you think about it, at some point you have to wonder if it might be a good idea to just step away from this relationship altogether. I think as you age, if you can't resolve, it becomes easier to make the decision to cut out the people in your life that you hold a grudge on, instead of keeping them in your life as some sort of toxic reminder of things gone wrong. It's not about sticking it to the person, it's just about moving on for your own mental sake. There isn't anything nothing wrong with that. Two things can be true at once. Grudges don't help anyone, but they can be a helpful indicator. Either you resolve, or you recognize that this relationship has gone past the point of no return. Both outcomes involve letting that grudge go, and whichever outcome is going to bring you the most long-term good, I think that's the outcome you should focus on. I think if you feel a little lost and confused just about everything going on here, then a random act of kindness can be a good reminder of how good things can be really quickly. Honestly, it doesn't have to be anything big either. I am not an extroverted person, and I'm not talking about crazy stuff like having full-blown conversations with strangers about their lives and how I can stop time to help them with what they're going through. It doesn't have to be a grand act of generosity or forgiveness or anything remotely close to that. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized that it's the littlest things that you would almost never think twice about, that I attempt to do to show kindness to people. These things leave an impact on them, but they also leave an impact on myself. How do I know? Well, when I'm walking my dog, for example, I make a choice over and over again with everyone that passes by to say hello or to just ignore them. Not saying hello isn't going to cause my life or theirs to crumble from beneath us, but when I do decide to say hi to someone, almost every single time we both end up smiling. You can take this even further if you're like me and are scared of strangers. This doesn't even have to be an action that the other person will notice. I find that when I practice the very challenging idea of kindness and patience to somebody who is maybe unknowingly and unintentionally inconveniencing me, they benefit a lot from that by not seeing another person seemingly pissed off for no reason, and I benefit a lot from that by not being another person that's seemingly pissed off for no reason. I think it can be really easy to be wrapped up in ourselves and just think about the stuff we have going on in our worlds. I know that when I'm in a bad mood, I think to myself, you know what? Others don't really deserve random kindness today because I'm mad. They didn't cause this, but I'm still mad and they're gonna feel it. This is really dumb and stupid of me. I've learned over the years that kindness in any little form shared between yourself and someone random can not only make people feel happier around you, but it can also make you feel happier just by virtue of you choosing it.